Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to chapter 5. I don't find these ones terribly interesting, but they're great for just helping to get things into your memory because, as you know, you think you've remembered and you find out that you haven't. So, this is just another way of going over the same material. Okay, you can go to the website and click through and do the little tests inside there as well. Okay, so let's get going. So try to say the term before I do. All right? So let's look at attitudes. Okay, so when we learn information, behavior, and attitudes from other people, what is it called? I think it's social learning. Let's see. Yeah, social learning. Next. All right, what is this a picture of? Correct, classical conditioning. Okay, so what we're looking at is an unconditioned stimulus on the right, the piece of meat, and a conditioned stimulus on the left, the bell. So naturally, the unconditioned stimulus provokes a reaction, which is salivation. By pairing the unconditioned stimulus with the conditioned stimulus, you can then end up having the conditioned stimulus stimulating the reaction, salivation. Okay. Okay, so what is being depicted here? The unconditioned stimulus and unconditioned response. And what is this? It is the conditioned stimulus. Okay, let's look at subliminal conditioning.
Mikey, Lily. Katie Noonan, time to begin. Missy Higgins on a clear night. And Sarah Blasco, what the sea wants, the sea will have.
And the
Okay, so could you see what was happening? You were being exposed to a stimulus that was too quick for you to see it. They slowed it down for the video, but otherwise it wasn't visible. And that was to manipulate people into buying Olay, a wonderful product. Okay, so just by seeing and not even remembering seeing, like for example, with that, you can form an attitude. What would that be called? What is the term for that? Mere exposure. Okay, and that was one of the things that subliminal conditioning was designed to do. Here's another example. Every single spaza shop in South Africa has a Coca-Cola sign on it, or that other rival orange juice soft drink, the O brand on it. Okay. So when you repeat information like this, it makes people feel it's familiar and feel positive to it, and they also start believing that it's representing a truth. So what is the term for that then? Remembering the word truth? The illusion of truth effect. Okay, so when you learn through reward and punishment, okay, and in this context, social reward and social punishment. Okay, I think I know what it is. Yes, instrumental conditioning. See, even though I've written this whole thing, I still forget these terms. Learning by watching others, this one I remember. Observational learning. Okay, what is learning through checking other people's attitudes whether our attitudes are correct or not? Social comparison, okay, or social comparison theory. But remember, we studied that in chapter 4. So here it's being presented slightly differently. Let's look at, there's a quick video in here. I'm actually not going to play it. It's very nice, actually, and it explains why it's in chapter 4 with one meaning and chapter 5 with another meaning. Do you remember the meaning in chapter 4? It was about evaluating yourself in relation to others, social comparison. Here, it's about checking what are the norms. What am I supposed to be doing? All right? You can play this on the website. Weird. Okay. Groups of people we identify with and whose opinions we value. These are, you could think of them as the in-group because they're the people that we feel that we're part of. Okay. But here we're referring to them as the reference groups. Okay. When we wrongly imagine other people have different attitudes to us. Okay, this is like a classic trope in all romantic comedies and quite a few other comedies. I think of Shakespeare, I think of various operas, but just about any comedy, this is going to come to play, and in some tragedies. Okay, and it's about the group, it's called pluralistic ignorance. Okay, pluralistic ignorance. Little test. Factors influencing attitudes. Commitment. Okay, what other factors would influence attitudes? Whether you're committed to the attitude, whether it's a moral attitude, whether you have to say it again and again and again, which creates clarity. Clarity, I always forget clarity, it's not obvious. Whether you perceive it as correct or not, whether everyone else perceives it as correct or not. Like slavery is no longer considered to be correct. Vested interests or benefits, who stands to gain? Do you stand to gain? Then you're very likely to have an attitude that supports that. Okay. Certainty, how sure are you of this attitude? If you're very sure, then you're going to hold it very strongly. Personal experience is the major cause. So remember that. Number one cause of your attitude is personal experience. Okay, and related to that, if you're continuing to act out that attitude, you're going to confirm it to yourself again and again. And the emotional state that you have is also going to influence your attitude. You know, when you are angry, your attitude on certain things shifts. And when you're happy, it shifts to another position. Okay, so attitude gives rise to two kinds of things that lead to behavior. There's two strands of cognition. So we can already start deciding what that would be. It would be the cortex side, where you do all the thinking, would be called planned reason, okay? And the intuitive, holistic, impulsive, emotional side, spontaneous reactions. So there's a slow and there's a fast. Okay, let's look at planned reason. The theory of reasoned action. We decide to do things because of a rational process in which we consider the options, we think about the outcomes that might come to be, we then decide what to do, and not only that, we decide to do it, we set the intention to behave. And from that, most likely that behavior will arise. Okay. Right, when you have a practical plan to implement behavior that you've already decided to do, what is that called? It's called implementation plan. Nice and easy. Okay, so here we have three things that lead to the intention to act. We broke it down a bit further. We've got the attitude that gives rise to the intention to act. Then we've got subjective social norms. Okay, that's definitely relating to society, just remember that. And then we've got perceived behavioral control. So yes, you feel that you should be on contraception. Yes, everyone else also feels that you should be on contraception. This is the norm. But no, the local clinic is closed. Not only is it closed, but it's out of contraceptives. So now you're not going to take any behavioral control. Okay, so you need all three. Then you get the intention to act. Okay. And this is borne out by research. So it's reasoned decision making that we're looking at. Okay, let's look at spontaneous reactions. The attitude to behavior process model is what we use here. So it's like, how do you get from attitude to behavior when it's so spontaneous, it's so immediate? Okay, it's like swatting a fly. All right, so let's see. Let's take swatting a fly. A model of how attitudes guide behavior. So you don't like flies, you believe that they carry diseases, which they probably do, and that they're a sign of dirtiness. Okay. So you have your attitude there. Then social norms. It's if you have lots of flies in your house, people aren't going to approve. Okay, a house free of flies is seen as desirable. Then you define the present situation. There's something wrong. There's a fly in my house. And then this definition influences overt behavior. Blandness, backfly. Okay. Spontaneous reactive behavior is what occurs. All right. So this is automatic. It's fast. There's very little cognition, because if you stopped and thought, you'd never catch that fly. It's based on perception, okay, on what you see. Is that a fly? No, it's a raisin, which is based on underlying attitudes. Okay, what is a habit exactly? It is repeating a behavior until it becomes automatic in that situation. Okay, right, let's run through persuasion. So do you remember the 4 components of persuasion? It is who says what, to whom, with what effect. Okay. Who? Who is who? She is credible. We believe she knows about Coca-Cola. She's attractive. She's an in-group member. Well, maybe not for everybody, but for possibly me. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to look at what. Okay, what is conveyed? Okay, is this message overt or not? It's not overt. Nobody will ought to truly believe that you can buy happiness with a Coca-Cola. Okay, so it has to be possibly covert, indirect, subtle. Okay, subliminal would be ideal. Positive framing sells better. And fear-based messages are not very effective. Now, at one point on every cigarette package, you had the most dreadful pictures. And they just didn't work. People didn't like them. And they didn't stop people from smoking. You go, oh my God, I feel so serious. Let me have a cigarette. Okay? Persuasion. Who says what to whom with what effect? We sell a lot of Coke. All right? High levels of diabetes, malnutrition, and lots of money. All right, so why does it work? How come these little tropes that we see everywhere, all over the place, are so effective? Why do they work? Okay, there's 2 processes. There's the systematic processing through reason, okay, which another name for this is the central route to persuasion. Straight down the middle line, you're conscious, you're aware, you can see what's in front of you, okay? Careful consideration, there's a lot of thinking involved. Okay, the other system is the heuristic processing, and that, another name for that is the peripheral route to persuasion. Okay, so no careful consideration, just a quick mental shortcut, and it doesn't take much effort. And how we explain these 2 cognition processes and assess how they work is called the elaboration likelihood model, meaning how likely is it that we're going to elaborate? So am I just going to buy this phone because it looks pretty, or am I going to stop and think and weigh up and see how many gigs it has and how much storage it has and which kind of screen it has and what kind of service record it has, and when last its manufacturer got sued? Or am I just going to go and buy a phone and go, oh, shiny pink, business. Okay, sparkles. All right. Resisting persuasion. How do we resist being manipulated and played in this way? Firstly, just knowing that we're being played is an excellent thing. So if you know someone's trying to persuade you or manipulate you, just knowing that helps protect you. Secondly, not being distracted. If we're distracted, we don't have our defenses up. We can't stop and think and give counter arguments. Okay, like we don't need such a good camera. Okay. Another way is to avoid the information, which I don't know about you, but I do for every single YouTube ad and every single screen ad. Okay, so that it can't go in. Another is arguing against it, which is why a lot of people argue with their TVs. You can also argue against a person, of course. And this serves to strengthen our own opinions. Factors that make it more difficult to resist. Okay, individual differences. Some of us are more suggestible than others. Some of us are more agreeable and want to go along with everything. And some of us are more comfortable with conflict and with dispute. Okay, ego depletion. When you are exhausted because you have been resisting other things all day and using your willpower to push through, you are more prone to fall prey to persuasion. You can't regulate yourself. You're more easily persuaded because you've got less energy. And not only that, but interestingly enough, when you are trying to convince others, you will be less honest when you are ego depleted because it takes more effort. Okay. All right. Now, this is a major one to look at and a very powerful force. When your two attitudes don't gel, or when your attitude and your behavior don't gel, it's called cognitive dissonance. Now, cognitive dissonance is interesting because you think if someone offered you R1 million to commit some crime, okay, take out a hit on someone, all right, you have less cognitive dissonance than if someone offered you 500 Rand and a phone to take out a hit on somebody. Okay, so what do you do when you've taken out the hit? You've taken your 5,000 Rand phone, 500 Rand phone, and now you feel bad. Okay, but this is called the less is more effect, sorry. Okay, so what do? So you can change your attitude to reduce the cognitive dissonance. It's perfectly legit to become a head person for the sake of a little bit of money and a phone, because this is a bad society and nobody cares about me. All right? So you allow a small incentive to change your behavior, and then you change your attitude instead of your behavior to avoid feeling uncomfortable. And this, of course, is the plot of most tragedies and a few comedies. No, more tragedies. Okay. And of lots of things in reality. Okay, so when there's coercion, what about if someone holds a gun to my head and says, now you will go and kill this person or your family will die, all right? I might not feel so bad. Okay, so I can get the vaccine and I'm totally anti-vax and I don't feel cognitive dissonance because I didn't have a choice in the matter. I was forced. Okay, so how do we directly manage this painful and uncomfortable dissonance? First, we can change our attitude. Everybody is out for their own thing. Taking out a hit on someone is just going with the flow. Or I can change my behavior. I'm not going to kill any more people because I think it's wrong. Or by getting enough people to agree with you. Okay, problem solved. Now, that makes the cognitive dissonance go away when everyone agrees with you. It's comfortable. or by deciding it doesn't matter. It's another way to do it. Okay, how do you do it indirectly? You can't get rid of the dissonance. You can't change your attitude. You can't change your behavior. Nobody is feeling what you're feeling, and it matters. Okay? What you're going to do. How are you going to live with it? You're going to try some self-affirmation. I'm a good person, really. I'm doing what I have to do to survive. And you will self-medicate. Using hypocrisy to nudge people to behave better. So let's look at one scenario where you wish to persuade people to act in a particular way. Like, for example, in the textbook, it's HIV/AIDS. You want people to be careful. Okay. So you know that they want to do the right thing and they know what's right. Okay, so you get them to tell you what is right. Just by getting people, that's why vows are so important, and swearing by the Bible or swearing on things is so important. It reminds people of what their values are, okay, and what they believe is right and wrong. Okay, and then if they have failed in the past, you need to acknowledge that and lay it on the table so you can say, yes, that was the past, and you did do those actions, okay, and that is now done with. And make sure that in the future they don't have to do the same thing. You don't need to take out a hit on anyone to get a phone. I'll give you a phone. Okay? There's condoms in every bathroom. Then you can encourage them to behave better in the future. All right? Okay, so I hope that was fun. And I'll see you in chapter 6. Okay, bye. Oh, like, subscribe, and share.